We are halfway through the cinematic movie year of 2019. It's so crazy how fast time is moving, but it is time now to break down the best and worst movies that I've seen this year so far. And for those of you who haven't seen it already, I've already listed my top 10 best movies of the year so far in a separate video, so please go ahead and check it out. And in this video, we are going to break down the 5 worst movies I've seen this year. I've seen less than 20 movies total, so in order to have a list of top 10 best, I had to limit my worst list to 5. So that's why you're getting 5 movies this year that have definitely disappointed me the most. The ones I'm going to list towards the bottom of my list aren't necessarily bad films, but I definitely take a lot of issue with a number of things, and the cons unfortunately outweighed the pros, and I'm sure I'm going to stir a little bit of controversy off of my list of my top 5 worst. But you know what? We're all entitled to our opinions, and I'll be excited to hear your thoughts after this. But without stalling anymore, let's get into the 5 worst or maybe most disappointing films I have seen this year so far in 2019. And in my number 5 spot, yes, I'm sad that it's here on this list, but I have to put Rocketman. I know, I had a lot of high hopes for this movie, and audiences and critics seem to love it, and I seem to be in a minority, but I felt that this movie went down the stereotypical dramatic biopic route in ways that were very, very disappointing to me. I was expecting it to be a lot more vibrant, a lot livelier, but I felt like the pacing dragged. I felt that this film had a lot of issues in terms of balancing the whimsy with the dramatic, and I wanted to feel invigorated and enthralled by everything that I had seen, similar to my experience with Bohemian Rhapsody, but sadly that was not the case for Rocketman. In my number 4 spot, we have Dumbo. Now, I will say Dumbo as the original cartoon version is probably one of my least favorite Disney animated movies ever. No offense, but it always seemed kind of weird and also very, very depressing. But that being said, I thought this remake was better than the cartoon with the narrative changes that it makes and the new characters that it introduces, but that still doesn't, excuse the fact that I felt the film was definitely lackluster. It definitely fell a little bit flat. There were some narrative developments that didn't feel natural, but overall the movie didn't elevate the source material to new heights to give us something truly magical, and it's unfortunately become a lot more forgettable to me, and that's why it's in my number 4 spot. And in my number 3 spot, we have Isn't It Romantic? Now, this movie unfortunately failed at trying to be something unique and special outside of a stereotypical, predictable romantic comedy these days. I had a lot of high hopes for this movie and the premise that it introduced, but I'm really sad that it fell short in almost every area. It had a strong cast, but a really, really poorly constructed script with little to nothing new that we haven't already seen before, and it was unfortunately very, very predictable. I found myself rolling my eyes and cringing a lot more often than I wanted to for this one. And in my number 2 spot, we have Dark Phoenix. For those of you who have seen my other review, it's really surprising to me that they were able to produce another Dark Phoenix storyline with X-Men The Last Stand being the better of the two, and that's saying something because X-Men: The Last Stand is one of the worst X-Men movies I feel like that we've seen on screen. This franchise, has always had a very, very strong cast, and it's just really unfortunate that they were given such a shitty, poorly constructed script to showcase. Sophie Turner did a great job with the material she was given, but unfortunately, this movie was honestly just a mess throughout. There was a couple bright spots, but for it to have gone out this way is definitely not how I would have wanted it. And in my number 1 spot, the movie that I feel like is unfortunately the worst movie that I have seen this year without a doubt is The Hustle, which really breaks my heart because I was really looking forward to this. I love Anne Hathaway, and Rebel Wilson is funny the most of the time that I see her on screen, but man, did this movie really dropped the ball in far too many ways than it should have. It could have been a lot more fun, and I just don't even know where to begin on how this movie faltered and just fell completely flat. More than flat, it was flaccid. It was just a boner killer of a movie with all of the funniest moments mostly showcased within the preview, and so many things executed that were just plain dumb and idiotic with no energy or effort behind it to make it smarter while utilizing the talent that it has to work with on screen. How did this movie get it so wrong so jarringly? It really pissed me off how much they really messed up this movie given the talent behind it and the story behind it to recreate. And there you have it. Those are 5 of the most disappointing / worst films I've seen in 2019 so far. I'd be curious to know what some of your least favorite movies were, and that's a wrap for the first 6 months of 2019. We have 6 months more to go, a lot of more movies to see, and I'm excited to explore them with you. Thank you all again for tuning in, and until next time, I'm Ryan Boehme, signing off. Bye, everyone.